Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Marco, currently a first year medical student of Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. Well, at least I hope I still am. And in this video, I'll try to answer a super simple question that I tried to answer before in this video, and that is, do you need an iPad for medical school? Short answer is honestly you don't. Pen and paper still does the same thing, but I'll try to make a case for why I think it can make life much more efficient and much easier. Depending on your study habits, of course. Let's go. I got a joke. If an apple a day keeps the doctor away, then why do most medical students have Apple iPads and Apple pencils? Makes you think. Anyway, like I said a while ago, I already made a video about this, but then that was a lens through my friends' eyes. And this video is pretty much going to be about the same thing, but this video is going to be more about my experiences and how I viewed using an iPad, because I pretty much have a school year under my med school belt. I still pretty much have the same feelings towards owning an iPad. High school, college, you don't need it as much. I think a laptop probably works better. And in med school, it depends on your study habits. But before we get into the actual meat of this video, I want to first contextualize my point of view so that you guys know what idea or what perspective I'm coming from. So how do I use my iPad? I use it to read and annotate PDF files from the prof or PowerPoint slides or even the book. I also try to draw stuff from memory just to test myself, or if something is really not sticking, I read something about it. From memory, I try to draw a mind map or draw the whole figure about it. And for MSK module, at least our musculoskeletal anatomy module, I used it to screenshot Atlas S and the muscles and kinesiology app and then label it myself. So that is the whole use of my iPad. So now we can move on to my thoughts now with regarding the way I use it. First is I do a lot of reading. Sometimes I read probably 4 to 5 chapters of a book a day. And with the iPad, reading, annotating, highlighting, and if it's something you do, probably writing on the sides of the book makes it way easier. For example, I recently learned to use different colors of pens and different color highlighters when it comes to annotating the book. If I'm the type to use actual pens and actual highlighters, I would constantly worry about refilling the stock of stationary stuff I have. So for example, if I ran out of blue, then oh no, my study routine would be over if I don't fill it up. Well, again, you can argue you could always just stock up in advance, but then from my head, I don't want to constantly have to worry about the stock of stationary materials I have. Changing the colors is super easy, especially with Notability that recently came out with an update where you have now a taskbar or shortcut bar, rather a favorite tab of all the colors you have. If I can use myself as an example again, I have 4 colors for pens and highlighters, and those are all I use. I just tap and then write, tap and then write, tap, highlight. Second use case for an iPad that I think makes it way more efficient in med school is the fact that I can screenshot atlases and I can screenshot med school muscle atlas apps on the iPad and then label it by myself. I use this personally as a very useful learning tool, because what I would do is I would read the atlas labels and then off memory, I would label the pictures myself, which is already some sort of practice because you directly test yourself after screenshotting it. Plus, when it comes to annotating, when I make a mistake, which I often do, I can just erase it and then do it again. When it comes to the actual book, I don't even want to write on it because 1, what if I resell it? 2, it ruins the book. Well, it is my book, but then I don't like looking at books with my annotations in it. Maybe the third one is a bit more theoretical since I don't really do creative stuff, but in med school, in the case of ASMPH, we have a lot of integrative activities with a creative aspect to it, and I would argue that maybe using an iPad can help with that, depending on what type of integrative activity you have. For posters, maybe a laptop may be better because, you have more control over it. iPad, I think, for poster making, I think iPads don't have that much extent to making it. But when it comes to real creative stuff, or if you want to draw and you want full flexibility using the Apple Pen, iPad is the way to go. There are tons of apps out there that would help you channel this creativity, and honestly, just using the Apple Pen is incredibly flexible and efficient when it comes to this. And this is not from experience, or not as much at least. All of the experience I have from using creativity with my iPad is those righty things I do on the corners of my videos. The most I can draw is probably stick figures. The fourth point I want to make is that it saves a lot of time and paper, especially if you're the type to print out rims and rims of paper of slides, because all your files are just in one device. All your iPad will have are PowerPoint slides and probably even books. Let's say, for example, there's a 100 slide PowerPoint, and then you would want to print all that out in a size that is pretty readable and with enough space. So let's say probably 3 slides per page. On the top of my head, I have to do math. That's around 39 pages plus one na may sobra. Or if you want to do 6 slides per page, that's probably 16.7 pages. Yeah, so that's a lot of paper and a lot of time, especially if a PowerPoint has more than 100. With the iPad, you can just slide through the slides. You can export the PowerPoint into a PDF, transfer it to your app of choice, and just scroll. I'm beginning to think I sound like such the Apple fanboy. I forgot the number of the point I'm trying to make, but the next point is it's a lot more light and a lot more portable than actual books. So in undergrad, I used to buy books, as in physical copies of the book. And then I realized it was super heavy to bring around. iPads are just 440 grams. Honestly, when I looked it up, I was also surprised. And I'm pretty sure a medical school textbook is way more double than that. Some are probably even this thick. That's probably what, 2 kilos? I wouldn't want to lug that around, to be honest. I mean, we are at home. We don't really go out anymore. So this argument is pretty null. But then when we get to face and you want to access a book when you're outside, then that's going to be a problem. But right now, I mean, this is not really a very weighted argument, but just saying, the iPad lessens the weight. And last thing on my list is, honestly, it looks kind of aesthetic. Not gonna lie. Imagine yourself chilling in your Starbucks cafe or your favorite cafe of choice with a generic flat lay aesthetic. It's iPad on one side, coffee on the other. And it's just you, your caffeine, your backlogs, and your med school career falling apart around you. But it doesn't matter because you look kind of fire though. So, cost benefit. So, I said a lot of things. I said a lot of good things about having the iPad. But why did I say you don't exactly need it? As with any piece of technology, I think on a fundamental level, you don't exactly need the iPad, which is kind of ironic coming from a guy who has a lot of tech right now. But my main point really is because there is always the old reliable pen and paper. Sometimes I catch myself still relying on the old pen and paper because it just feels different when you use it on actual pieces of paper. I would still draw, I would still write down stuff on paper sometimes, and it's still a go-to choice if you don't have the iPad. It still works and it will always work. Honestly, the only difference between pen and paper and iPad is the price you pay. After watching my whole video and you still think that, all the things I mentioned a while ago aren't worth the thousands of pesos to pay for this piece of technology, by all means, don't get it. It's perfectly fine. Or, you could just stick with your current laptop. Honestly, as long as it works, it's perfectly fine. But if you have some cash to spare, I guess, even we're in a pandemic, and you can't afford the iPad, I say cop it. If you think there's a significant value between a traditional pen and paper or your current laptop and the iPad, then make the jump. I think it's a pretty decent decision. If you do decide to buy an iPad and you decide that you want to use it purely for school, I do highly suggest looking into iPad Airs or probably secondhand iPads as long as it's compatible with an Apple Pen. I think those work perfectly fine, especially if you will use it for school only, since it will only handle PDFs and probably some Notability files or GoodNotes files or any other app out there in the market. I think the difference between getting the iPad Air or the iPad Pro is if you are going to go beyond using it for school. I myself use it sometimes to edit videos. So for example, some vlogs like this one. Some apps do require a bit more power than the iPad Air. So if you think eventually you will do those things, then by all means go for the Pro. But if only purely for school, for Netflix, all those good things, go with the cheaper option. It's still gonna do the same thing. That pretty much ends this video. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. I'm pretty sure I made a pretty coherent video, right? If you did, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to support the channel. I think it goes a long way, and I do appreciate it when you guys support me. If you do have any contentions or if you agree with something I said, do comment it down below so we can talk more about it. To support the channel again, if you want to subscribe super fast, circles right there in the middle, and then suggested videos up there and down there. See you guys in my next video. Peace.